Ciao Fabri, welcome back in our podcast. Today we talk about the Manchester clubs because they are the center of the transfer market. Everything is happening basically there. And we start with Gigio Donnarumma, probably the biggest news of the week. Can he really join Manchester City?
Look, Manchester, yes, is the center of the market, and Gigi Donnarumma is one of the big faces of this final less than 17, 16 days to the end of the window, because Donnarumma completely broke his relationship with Paris Saint-Germain, and now there are talks ongoing with Manchester City. What I can tell you tonight is that the most concrete club in conversations to sign Gianluigi Donnarumma this summer with 1 year left on his contract is Manchester City. Man City already had a direct contact with Paris Saint-Germain. The two directors spoke, Hugo Viana and Luis Campos, the two Portuguese directors of Manchester City and Paris Saint-Germain, on Monday. Paris Saint-Germain asked for 50 million euros. Man City will never pay that, so the price has to be reduced for a player with 1 year left on his contract and out of the project at Paris Saint-Germain. And also for Manchester City, it's really important to find a solution for Ederson. So Donnarumma will go to Man City only if Ederson leaves the club. Galatasaray are interested, but Man City still don't have on the table what they want to give the green light to the exit of Ederson. So let's follow the situation. But if Ederson leaves and the price is reduced, I can tell you that Donnarumma is very keen on a move to Manchester City, very open to joining Pep Guardiola, and so could be one of the big movements of the final 2 weeks of the summer transfer window.
What happened before this story? So what was the plan of Donnarumma before all this story happened?
Look, from what I heard, Donnarumma really negotiated a new contract with Paris Saint-Germain till the Club World Cup. So Donnarumma was not planning or plotting for a move before all this storm around him and his name in the recent days. Donnarumma had concrete negotiations with Paris Saint-Germain with different positions. Obviously, Paris Saint-Germain wanted to restructure the contract for Donnarumma, also because he was on a big salary since joining the club in 2021 on a free transfer. Donnarumma was prepared to accept some of the conditions, but let's say not all of them, and so some conversations took place, but the plan was not to leave this summer. Donnarumma was even ready, in case they couldn't agree on a new deal, to stay at the club, compete with Lucas Chevalier, and see who was going to be the first goalkeeper. But then PSG first told Donnarumma Chevalier is the first goalkeeper, and so Donnarumma, from what I'm hearing, was also ready to stay and say, okay, I will stay on the bench and let's see then what happens in training. But then PSG said, and Luis Enrique said, out of the squad, not even on the bench. And so at that point, for Donnarumma to stay now and wait for 2026 to leave as a free agent is going to be probably very difficult.
Okay, so the question is, Man United can also be interested in Donnarumma?
Well, look, when there is a player like Donnarumma on the market, it's obvious to receive many questions. One of the best players in the world, a candidate for Ballon d'Or, candidate to become the best goalkeeper in the world. So I think it's obvious to have these questions. At the moment, what I can tell you is that Man United are focused on different things. So probably Man United priority is to sign a new midfielder now at this point of the market after Mbeumo, Cunha and Benjamin Sesko for Manchester United. The following plan is quite clear. So at the moment, not activating the option Donnarumma as a new goalkeeper. Let's see what's going to happen later in the window, because maybe they get a midfielder and they decide to do something for the goalkeeper. But at the moment, still not activating this option. Chelsea are not in for Donnarumma. I can guarantee 100% that Chelsea are not talking for Donnarumma, not interested in Donnarumma, so there is nothing between Chelsea and Donnarumma. Italian clubs, many questions, but at the moment his agent Raiola told in a very clear way that for Italian clubs financially to sign a player like Donnarumma now is almost impossible, and so at the moment the situation is quite clear. Manchester City is the focus, but again it depends on Ederson.
Talking about Manchester City was another exclusive story from you. Savinho, Tottenham, how is it going?
Yes, it's a conversation ongoing at the moment between all parties involved, the agents of Savinho, Tottenham, Manchester City, to see if this deal can happen or not. I keep saying since I broke this story that Savinho is keen on a move to Tottenham. So Savinho would be open to going to Tottenham, but it doesn't mean that Savinho is going to break his relationship with Man City to go to Tottenham. So let's see how this conversation will continue. For sure, he's keen on the move. With Thomas Frank pushing, Thomas Frank is a big part of the story because he believes that Savinho can be a big thing into Tottenham Hotspur project, and so he's trying to tempt a player like this, presenting their project. Manchester City said no to 50 million euros and then to an improved bid in the following days. From what I'm told was under 70 million euros, but still an improved bid. Man City are still rejecting. They want really important money or nothing, but at the moment are still blocking the deal, so there is no green light from City. Let's see if Tottenham will be able to change the stance of this story, but at the moment, still a complicated one, waiting because Tottenham remain in conversation and will try till the end to sign Savinho.
Let's now talk about Rodrigo, one of the hottest names of the summer. Can you bring us behind the scenes of what's happening right now?
What's happening now with Rodrigo is that basically Manchester City, as I mentioned, for Savinho, want to keep the player and so at the moment are not giving any green light. But in case this deal happened for Savinho, the name wanted by Manchester City, the name wanted by Pep Guardiola in all the internal conversations mentioned in the last 2 weeks is Rodrigo. Manchester City, if Savinho leaves, will try for Rodrigo. I can guarantee that. Then I don't know if they will be successful. I don't know if it's going to be possible because it depends on the financial details. Real Madrid start from 100 million euros from Rodrigo, so it's not going to be easy. Rodrigo loves Real Madrid, so it's also not easy to get a green light from the player. But for sure, Manchester City want to try for Rodrigo if Savinho leaves. So let's see what's going to happen there. That's going to be an important story for these final 2 weeks. I can 100% guarantee the interest from Man City, but again, it will depend on Savinho. And so, similar to Donnarumma and Ederson, we are in a moment of the market where the puzzle, the domino, depends player to player.
Talking about Manchester United right now, we are after finally the saga of Benjamin Sesko to United. So what can we expect now from United in the coming 2 weeks?
Yeah, the main focus now is on a midfielder. So Man United are very happy with what's happening on the market, what they did, Brian Bauman and Cunha, 2 players who are Premier League proven, ready to make instant impact, what Ruben Amorim and the board wanted. Then the Benjamin Sesko deal, a really important one to bring in an important striker. So now the outgoings will also be crucial, Rasmus Højlund and not only, but Manchester United are focused on bringing a new midfielder. They believe that midfielder is a crucial position. And don't underestimate what happened today. Toby Collier on loan to West Brom, which means probably that Manchester United are preparing some space for a new midfielder to join in the final weeks of the transfer window.
Talking about details of the midfielder, Baleba, and also the other players that have been offered to Man United in the last weeks, what can you say?
Yeah, many players have been offered. For example, João Palhinha was an option at the beginning of the market. Then Tottenham really wanted him. Man United decided to go on different kind of players. Baleba is the player they want. Baleba is the player they dream of. So Man United are still trying for Baleba. I can guarantee that. Then it's a really complicated deal, really difficult because Brighton don't want to sell the player. Brighton want to keep him and eventually only allow him to leave next year in 2026. So let's see what's going to happen now. For sure, Man United are still trying. For sure, Man United feel that the player is keen on the move. Man United feel that Baleba wants to join them even without European football. But this story will depend on the financial details and the financial recast made by Brighton. So still difficult, still complicated, but United are still trying, still in contact with the agents of the player, and so we will be following the next steps.
Can we also still expect Alejandro Garnacho to leave the club since you have been telling us all the summer?
Yes, Garnacho will leave Manchester United, and I know that maybe in the media this deal is not going to be really strong in the recent days, but I can guarantee to you that behind the scenes, in the background, the Garnacho-Chelsea deal is absolutely underway, is absolutely ongoing, is absolutely advancing. Garnacho only wants to go to Chelsea. Garnacho has an agreement with Chelsea. We know that. We say it several times. But I can guarantee to you that also Chelsea and Manchester United are in negotiations. Chelsea and Man United are in active talks. So this deal is really concrete for Garnacho. To Chelsea, he's going to leave United. It's completely over with everyone at the club, especially with the coach, Ruben Amorim. After that Europa League final, Garnacho couldn't stay at the club. And the plan on both sides, club and player, was always to part ways this summer. And so it's over with Garnacho. But obviously, this money, Alejandro Garnacho, and all the rest of the players, we said also about Højlund, is going to be important, probably to try for a new midfielder, to try for Baleba and see what's going to happen.
Talking about outgoings, the last one for today is about Jadon Sancho and Anthony, 2 other players that have been involved with many other clubs in talks. What's evolving?
Yeah, on these two, keep an eye on the movements, because for Jadon Sancho, Roma presented an official bid in the recent hours. So after Turkish clubs, Besiktas and more, the player doesn't want to go to Turkey now. Then the Turkish market is open beyond the 1st of September, so eventually he will have that option available if he can find the right deal in Europe. But at the moment, negotiations ongoing with Roma. Roma have presented a £20 million proposal to Manchester United, loan with obligation to buy, quite easy to activate the obligation to buy. So conversations ongoing between the two clubs, and let's see if Roma then will be able to agree on personal terms with Jadon Sancho. For Anthony, Betis are still there. Betis are still trying. Betis still want to get Anthony after a fantastic loan deal they did in January. Let's see if they can reach an agreement with the player and with Man United. But all these names we're mentioning, Sancho, Anthony, Garnacho, Højlund, many players leaving, means that Manchester United are not done on the market and will go strong for a new midfielder.
Thank you, Fabri, for today. Talk to you soon.
Thank you. Ciao, guys.